Hello everyone, this is AJ and welcome back to the channel. Today I've got a new movie review for you, and that's going to be for the new 2022 movie ERASER Reborn. Yes, a kind of spiritual sequel to the Arnold Schwarzenegger movie ERASER. So let's talk about it. Okay, like I said, this is like a spiritual sequel to the Arnie film of 1996, directed by Chuck Russell. You can call this film a sequel, you can call it a reboot, you can call it a reimagining, you can call it a revisit, whatever you want it to be. It is set within that and it's based upon that IP, so to speak. But obviously, about 26 years later, long time for a revival. But anyway, so this film comes at us from Warner Brother Home Entertainment and runs for 1 hour and 42 minutes with an R rating. I have seen the Arnie original and I watched it probably about 2 years ago. I've never found it to be an overly memorable Arnold Schwarzenegger film. It's not a bad film, just never resonated with me and stuck in my mind to that effect. So is this film any different? Find out. So this film is directed by director John Pogue, who only has 5 directing credits to his name, one of them being Deep Blue Sea 3. Now I know what you're thinking, Deep Blue Sea 3, it wasn't badly directed, I'll say that about it. It's not a great film at all, better than Deep Blue Sea 2, but yeah, it's not a badly directed film, I should say. John Pogue does have writing credits to his name. Sorry, I was going to say directing credits again. Writing credits to his name. Most notably, Ghost Ship, the 2002 Rollerball remake, The Skulls, and Tommy Lee Jones in the US Marshals, the sequel to The Fugitive. This film has actually been written by Michael D. Weiss, who again has some recognisable writing credits to his name. Journey to the Centre of the Earth, the Brendan Fraser vehicle, Butterfly Effect 2, Hostel 3, among other films that you may or may not recognise. Now, when it comes to the casting in this film, it's all relatively unknown individuals. You have Dominic Sherwood, who plays the main US Marshal, the Eraser, so to speak. He's been in the TV series Shadowhunters and Penny Dreadful City of Angels, that I don't believe anyone watched. Jackie Leigh plays Rena Kinura. She was also in Shadowhunters, believe it or not. I don't know, I've not seen Shadowhunters. And you've got McKinley Becker III as Paul Whitlock, among a wealth of other actors, acting talent, obviously, but no one that I know, not even these 3. Which is quite clever on the part of the makers, and I'll come into that in a bit. So this film, it's pretty much similar to the Arnie version in that obviously you have this US Marshal who's tasked with erasing people, making it look like they're dead so they can go into witness protection, to then go to court against the individuals that they go to court against. We're introduced to Dominic Sherwood's character, Mason, at the beginning, in the midst of one of his erasings, shall we say. And the character that he raises there does come back into play later in the film, with an element of comic relief to him, I should say. But then we're introduced to the main antagonists of the piece, and Rena is the girlfriend of one of these individuals in this criminal syndicate, and she gets herself into trouble, obviously. She's working with the FBI to get some information, but she also steals stuff for her own benefit at the same time, thus kicking off this hide and seek chase between the syndicate and her and Mason, who wants to put her into protective custody. You have double crossings on the part of the FBI, shall we say, who are encouraged by the wealth of the syndicate to turn on their own, and all this sort of stuff goes to play. And the film just goes from America to like Cape Town, and yeah, so it's cross-continental sort of film, and yeah, I don't want to say too much about the story. I'm not going to go too much into the story. I'm going to leave it there. I'm going to leave it there and talk about the film itself. So, okay, first thing I can say is, like I said, the casting of all these actors, who are all pretty talented in their own right. The acting in the film is not bad at all. There might have been one instance where I thought, questionable acting, but other than that, they were all quite capable in the roles they were given. Now, this is where Warner Brother have been clever, because they've kept the cost on the cast to a minimal. So the cost has managed to go into the production and on screen. And this is why I say that a 1 hour and 42-minute film is a good sign. Because usually these straight to DVD fare run at below 90 minutes. Once I saw this was 1 hour and 42 minutes, I thought, okay, this has got a bit more to it. Once you see that runtime being over 90 minutes, you know that there's a bit more going on in the production. So the film is slickly shot. Yeah, it's very well directed. I will say that. It's competently directed. It's got some fantastic camera use of crane work and all this sort of a thing. It isn't all on the ground. Now, the film does have a lot of action in it. It's all very much gunplay, shooting, this sort of thing. There isn't car chase or anything like that. The production probably didn't stretch the budget to that kind of extent. But however, it doesn't look like a cheap film. It looks like a slick film. It's well written. It's well directed. The acting's all there. The cinematography is fantastic in some elements, and not only that, the sound design on the film is very good as well. It's got a decent soundtrack to it also, so there's a lot of positives to take away from this film. That being said, I would say that it's one of these films that I will very quickly forget, much like the first ERASER, but as I was watching it, I grew to like the cast within it more and more, and the main actor himself, to the point that I thought, well, if they were to do another one of these, I would consider watching it. You know, there is CGI work within the film. If you remember in the first ERASER, there is a scene with an alligator. Now this film does sort of hit that beat again, and does utilise animals to that effect, shall we say. Now, one of the CG was all right, but there is a very, very dodgy CGI scene at the very end. It's probably the worst looking scene in the film, which was unfortunate really, because it looked so good, and then you get this dodgy CGI moment thrown in, which, to be honest, I would have probably cut some of that, a few snippets of it, just where it looked at its worst. But other than that, this film was a surprise. It was enjoyable. It was enjoyable. Now, the fact that I say it's forgettable, that could prove to be a good thing, in that I would rewatch the film again. But if I'm going to forget it, then I'll enjoy it again on a rewatch, if you get what I'm saying, as opposed to it being kept freshly in my mind. So there's a positive to draw from that. So what I'm saying is, this isn't a bad film. Overall, you know, I would say, yeah, give it a watch. Give it a watch. You may get something out of it. On the other hand, you may not. It'll go either way for you. It'll go either way. But for me, I found it to be quite positive, quite enjoyable. It did lull for a little bit towards the middle, but then picked up momentum again. So overall, an enjoyable movie. Competently directed, well shot, some decent action sequences to be had. Yeah, quite violent in places, a bit bloody, but yeah, enjoyable. This is AJ, thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one. Take care all, and goodbye.